Welcome back to the Great Imposters podcast. We are so excited for today.
So excited.
So beyond excited. I have a feeling a lot of you are going to be listening for the first time today. So let's just give you a little rundown on what we do here at the Great Imposters podcast. We are a really fun podcast. My name's Joelle. This is Annie. We are two moms. We are two cuckoo imposters. We talk about all things imposter syndrome. We the reason for that was because Annie and I had always wanted to start a podcast. We talked about it for about a year and we had a couple of ideas and we kept going back to who are we to start a podcast? Why us? Why should we do this? Mm-hmm. And then we kind of said, fuck it. Like, let's work through our imposter syndrome. We deserve to be in this space too. So that's why we decided to make our podcast about imposter syndrome. So if you struggle with it, if you're interested in it, you're in the right place. Now, we have such an incredible guest today. And I'm so excited. And I think, are we feeling any imposter syndrome?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely some imposter syndrome, but also just like great gratitude.
Yes.
Great gratitude.
Great gratitude.
So without further ado, Jason Tartick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. So we're going to have you introduce yourself in a little bit.
Okay.
But we realize that, and Jason is a two-time author. He just released his second book, Talk Money to Me. We are going to do a giveaway at the end of this episode, and stay tuned at the end for that, for 5 of his books signed. Yes. But what we wanted to start with was we realized you've been on the press circuit. You have been, right? You've been traveling the country, doing your book tour. You've been on news shows. You might be a little fatigued about talking about it and being asked the same questions. Yeah. So we wanted to surprise you.
Okay, I like it.
We like to keep it weird.
I like to keep it. Let's keep it weird.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Great.
We wanted to surprise you with a book review, and we're gonna read it to you.
Interesting. I like a good surprise.
And it's in the form of a poem.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Fun fact for our listeners about Joelle is that she's always like, oh, I didn't like college that much, but she freaking loved poetry class.
I did.
She's a poet.
I didn't know that.
Sneaky poet. Yeah.
Interesting.
I
so
keep it under
this
wraps.
review is of my book, and it's in a poem format.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. All right.
We wanted to be memorable.
Yes.
Because you must be sick of it.
It's already
at this point.
great start.
But I realized I was like, but this might be our only guest where you may have received a poem in the past in some form.
Yeah, I've received a few.
That's some like fan mail.
Weirdly enough, my brother, it was 3-4 months ago. We don't know how, but he got a full package in the mail with poems and letters and pictures of this individual saying that I can't seek Jason's attention, so I'm going to seek the approval of his brothers. And he sent me all of it. And we were
Did you get a restraining order?
We were just like, wait a second. How did she get your address?
Yeah.
That is the concern.
That's like, whoa. I'm scared.
That was nuts. But anyway.
Okay, I promise this isn't that.
Okay.
This is about your book.
Good.
Yes. So, goes without saying, Annie and I both read Talk Money to Me, Jason's book. It is so good. We're going to talk all about it later, but this is our review.
Okay.
That's a big deal because we're not in our finishing books era of
Yes.
life.
No.
And it was amazing.
Wow,
It was amazing.
that's so nice.
The other quick thing, I do a lot of, tangents on accident, but a lot of times, because I listened to part of it on audiobook, you are so good at narrating it. Because sometimes when the authors narrate their own book, it's like, wait, maybe you should have outsourced this, but to no surprise, you're so engaging in the way that you read it.
I appreciate it because it was torture.
It's
hard, right?
It's
you had to read your book.
Yeah, you have to. Well, it's 3 days, and you're in there for 10 hours, and you get a lunch break. But just imagine, every sentence, if the tone's not right, if the flow's not right, if the enunciation's not right, speed's not right, redo it.
Oh my God.
You trip on one word,
wow.
redo the sentence. So it is so meticulous, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Because we both read part and then listened to part while we were traveling.
And then I want to hear the poem. But our audiobook, actually, I'm glad I did because the sales of the audiobook are almost 1/2 of the actual hard copy, which is rare. So it's selling really well, the audiobook.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's probably also your podcast and TV background.
Right.
But being able to present.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes. Okay, ready?
All right, let's hear it.
Talk Money to Me, a poetic book review by Joelle and Annie.
Yes.
Okay. Talk Money to Me by Jason T. A book that should be taught in school. You got two dummies to actually read a book and make personal finance cool.
Your metaphors and analogies spoke to us in a way we could actually digest, packed with knowledge to empower everyone so we can all do our financial best.
We know that love can be tricky. It's a drug that turns us blind, but your wisdom reminds us to not only use our hearts and feel empowered to use our minds.
You teach us without judgment, with compassion instead of strife. Your action steps and strategies could change a person's life.
This book should be required reading for all people, old and young. You will hear stories and facts that will blow your mind and prepare you for anything to come.
Talk Money to Me by Jason T. has earned our rave review.
We urge all of our listeners to give it a read. It is a gift from Jason to you.
Wow.
Poet laureate.
You know what you got to do? That was really good.
This
Here's what we got to do. Oh my gosh.
We
I was going to
laminated
say,
it so you can keep
you
it.
got to clip this so I can post it because this is really good. I liked it. I mean, it's a great synopsis of the book. This is so sweet.
Aw.
She was
This
like
is
grilling
different.
me on cadence and stanzas.
You
She always
guys
presses the
nailed
cadence.
it.
We were practicing last
Oh my
night in the
God.
car while our kids were in
I
gymnastics.
love this. Yeah, I'm
Wheelie to
keeping
glamorous.
this. This is
Yes.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, from poetry class at Nazareth College to this couch.
Nazareth, the 585,
Let's go,
Rochester. You guys
Rochester.
absolutely crushed this. Thank
Aw.
you for that. That
Thank
was
you
so
for,
sweet.
Of
Thank you for
course.
being here.
And thank you for writing that book. We loved it so much. We like icebreakers here too. So we
Okay.
are going to get to the meat, but Annie,
We're going to further break the ice even.
Okay,
Yes.
break it. Let's
So
break
something
this.
we love to ask people is, if you were going on vacation and you had to choose between a Motel 6, the Motel 6 in Maui, because it's real, or a Four Seasons in Tulsa, Oklahoma, what are you picking? Where are you at in your life?
I'm gonna go with the Motel 6 just because
Okay.
I'm not gonna. If I go to Hawaii, I'm not gonna be in that location often. Now, I will preface, I am a hotel snob. Like,
That's
if
why
you
I thought
say-
you might be the other way.
what is one place that I overspend money on? It's definitely hotels because I
Ditto.
feel like when I travel so much, if I'm in a nice hotel, it doesn't feel like I'm traveling as much. But
Yeah.
if you're in Hawaii, like that place, I've never been. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the Four Seasons just a hotel. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Hawaii.
So
Okay.
love the answer. We feel it. This is kind of male-female coded, I think, too,
Okay.
because we asked Chris Coolis from OAR the same question. He said the same thing.
Okay.
And
We made it too easy on him, though, because we did Gary, Indiana.
We said Gary, Indiana, because we asked ChatGPT what's the most disgusting city in America, just to make a point.
Wait, and that was the answer?
Gary, Indiana.
Wow.
Or maybe I said the worst city in America,
Okay,
just so I didn't offend everyone. So we went with Tulsa.
ChatGPT,
I know.
tough.
Yeah,
Tough.
not
They're
nice
coming
to
at
Gary.
'em.
But we feel like Tulsa is just a little more like anywhere USA. So that's why we
Yeah.
went with it. But we're both Four Seasons answers. 'Cause
Interesting.
We're at the point in our lives where like, if I'm leaving my home,
Yeah.
I need to sleep.
If I don't have my kids with me, I'm sleeping on a Four Seasons bed.
I
Yes.
get that, but
Amenities.
like, what is the city gonna do for
I don't
you
care, I'm not
as
leaving-
opposed to Hawaii?
I'm not leaving the hotel.
You're not leaving the hotel?
If it's a Four Seasons,
What are you gonna do?
go to the spa, go to the pool. Like
Okay.
that's what I'm doing.
And then what do you do the rest of the trip?
Eat.
Read Talk Money to me. by the pool.
Read Talk Money to Me by Jason Tartick.
Yeah,
over
but,
and over.
but is the purpose of traveling then to be in a hotel, or is the purpose
In
of
this-
traveling to see?
Okay, in this case, the hotel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the amenities stage of my life.
I'm in the amenity
Yeah.
stage of
I'll
my
be
life.
back. I'll be back.
You'll be
to
back.
the adventure someday.
Yeah,
But
I get
you
it.
know.
Yes.
I mean,
What is-
listen, I'm a hotel snob, so I get it. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Okay.
Yes.
But I'm going Hawaii.
All right.
Yeah.
Love it. Cool. Okay. So now that we've gotten through all of that, we always, if anyone's unfamiliar with who you are, can you just
Yeah.
give us quick, like, we always say, give us your stats, like name, age, where you from, what you do.
Okay, cool. So I grew up in Buffalo. My age is 35. Name Jason Tartick. I was a banker by trade. I got my MBA in accounting and finance. I moved all over the country with banking. Took a wild detour and went on the Bachelorette, reality TV. Went back to banking for about a year and a half until I lost my job, because you can imagine the professional worlds colliding with social media and reality TV are inevitable. And then from that moment on, I've built my social media platform, and I run a talent management company. I have a podcast, Trading Secrets. We have my first book is The Restart Roadmap, which is a career navigation book. Second book is Talk Money to Me. And I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I have 2 golden rescue retrievers, Ramen and Pino. And yeah, it's a little bit of my story.
You nailed it.
All right.
I mean, you must have been asked that before or something. So I'm glad you hit all of those, because our first kind of imposter question we're going to ask you to get to the bottom of your imposter syndrome, if you have any.
Yeah.
We'll find it.
We'll find it. And we wrote it up there for you so you can see. So I'm going to read off some titles that Jason just said, but a few that would describe him. So the first, I'm just going to go through the list. He's looking at them, and we want you to pick the one that gives you the most imposter syndrome. But our audience can't see this, so I'm going to read them out loud. So Bachelor Nation reality star, 2-time best-selling author, celebrity, heartthrob, global financial thought leader, multifunction business owner, podcaster, dog dad, influencer. These are all titles that can be used to describe Jason. Which one of those gives you the cringies to say, or it gives you imposter syndrome?
The one that gives me the cringiest, I'll give you the cringiest and the imposter syndrome. The cringiest to me feels like heartthrob. I'm like, what? The imposter syndrome would be the celebrity and then global financial thought leader. Those two. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to dig into that a little bit. So I'm surprised you're saying global financial thought leader, because to me you are.
Yeah.
You have a podcast that has reached, I'm assuming, many continents and countries by this point, right? So you're everywhere.
I think over 100 countries,
right?
Actually,
and people are listening to you. People are reading your book. People are taking your advice in a way that personally I've never seen before. Like, mostly financial podcasts and books are really fucking boring.
Yeah.
And they're like old white dudes that you don't feel like you can like relate to. Or you feel like you're being talked at.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yours is not like that.
You're not. Yeah. You're very compassionate. You have a very female audience. And I think you have this very specific thought leadership, for lack of better terms. So just why does that give you imposter syndrome?
Interesting, because it's like, I think when you go, so my whole background, business and finance, and have lent a lot of money at the bank and have done a lot of cool things, but transitioning from reality TV to using the platform in finance is a big challenge. And the biggest hurdle you're always overcoming is you were a guy from reality TV. And I think there's always, especially when it comes to money and finance, there's always bigger, better, smarter, right? There's someone with the degree from Ivy League. There's someone with the better MBA. There's someone with better work experience. You work in private equity, well, you don't work in the best shop. You work in investment banking, you're regional. You're not at the top, top bulge brackets. You're in private equity, or you're working investment banking. You're not a hedge fund manager. You're all those things, and you're not Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or the real billionaires that are running the entire world. So there's always bigger, better, faster, stronger, smarter, wealthier in the space of finance. So to think of, I see global financial thought leader, I'm like, I don't know if I could keep up with all those others.
Right. So what do you think does set you apart in that space?
I think something sets me apart from everybody in a room that actually helps me with imposter syndrome. Even like The Bachelor, when you walk in the mansion and there's 30 other guys, and I've told this story before, but on our season, there's like 3 NFL players. There's a Major League Baseball player. There was models. There was a Harlem Globetrotter. There's a Major League Soccer player. And then, there's this one guy I really got along with. I'm like, oh, he seems so normal and nice. And I was like, John, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm the 4th employee of Venmo. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. Meanwhile, they're all like 6'4", 6'5", built like brick shit houses. So like the definition of imposter syndrome there. But I think the way I've always battled it is to say, what do I have that they don't? What differentiates me? And the reason I could capture a lot of what I consider global financial thought leaders on my podcast, right? Some of the wealthiest humans in the world, or people that have done and achieved the most, is because I do have something different. And in my case, it might just be that my audience is mostly female-based, right? A lot of their audience might be male-based. It could be as simple as that, or it could be we have a common connection, or it could be, there's a million things it could be, but all of us have something that make us unique to us when and if you do start comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think you're absolutely right. Like, your book is for everyone, but it is a gift to women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very empowering.
Nice. It really is. Yeah. Like, and it is for everyone. Men should read it too, but it is, and we're going to talk about it later. We have a whole section to chat about it, but it's really, really empowering for women to understand and absorb a lot of the information in here when they're making decisions about being with a partner, being in a marriage, even while you're already married, different steps you can take.
Yeah.
So I think that is your differentiator. Totally.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. And the book was designed for that, and just making sure that every partnership is 50-50 and that's not necessarily tied to income or wealth, right?
Yeah.
So for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're little Jason, little Jason.
Jason.
You're in Buffalo. There's some lake effect snow falling out the window. You're thinking about your future. Are you like, I'm going to be in the finance industry? Or what did little Jason want to be?
Little Jason wanted to be a hockey player.
Okay.
And he then wanted to be a professional poker player.
Wow.
Those two things didn't work out. But I talked about in the book at 16, that was when my grandfather really brought me into his office and was like, you have to learn numbers, right? So he was an oral surgeon, endodontist by trade, but he got taken for a large portion of his wealth from an advisor who was committing fraudulent activity, who's actually still in jail, which is crazy.
Wow.
And so he lost a lot of his money through him and came up to me and was like, hey, this is what I have now. This is what I've learned. If there's one thing I leave with you, it's that numbers don't lie. Sometimes people do, and you need to know money and you need to manage it. And from that point on, I was always infatuated with numbers, which is why the professional poker thing always kind of connected with me. I had no idea what the hell I was going to do, though. I started my college career freshman year in college as a history major.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I have no idea. After a year, I transitioned to business, but I don't think it's tough. It's tough for people to be like, I knew exactly what the vision was going to be. And that's what it was. I don't know that that's necessarily true for most people.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go backwards here. What are you great at? Like I think, you talked about hockey. Okay. We went hockey and poker, didn't work out. And then you got into finance, but that might not even be your answer to that. When you think about that question, what is Jason Tartick great at?
I think I'm good with numbers in general, but what I think I'm great at is like things that have allowed me to succeed, I think maybe in the like media, social media, or even like reality TV space, and even the business space, or personally and financially. I think it's my ability to have compassion for others, to be able to listen to them, understand them, and then just make them feel heard, seen, and just understood.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's allowed me to be successful in a lot of business roles or leadership or maybe writing or even content, whatever it might be. I think that's the idea of working with people, understanding people, having compassion for the fact we all see this world in a different lens. And it doesn't have to be right from wrong. It more has to be, how can we really just get on the same page, given both from where we've come, what was to us, and like what is at this moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's really nice.
And there's so much, what I loved about your book too, is there's so much shame around finances. And especially if you've gotten yourself into a situation, there's shame around like debt. There's shame around not knowing your numbers. But so much of your book is about like you at any stage in your life, you can stop and, restart and figure it out and get on the right track. And there's such digestible steps to take. So it's just it's exactly what you're saying. Like it's a no shame. It's a, authentic approach to getting your finances in order. And I love that. That is so rarely, I feel like, the lesson that we're told.
People are so judgy with money.
Judgy.
Like they're like, you have a bad credit score, red flag, I'm out. You have debt, I'm out. Like that's so asinine, because you could have a terrible credit score and you could be wealthier than anyone in the room.
Right.
You could have a ton of debt, and debt could be good. Debt could be used as an instrument to actually grow a ton of wealth. Like there's so much more to the equation than just understanding or hearing one thing. And we just judge, blame, shame, and then weaponize people's vulnerability, which is why no one's willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I think the biggest thing is when people are willing to be open with you, they're willing to be vulnerable. It's like the worst thing you could possibly do is then blame, shame, or put them in a position of feeling guilt or fear.
Right.
Because how can they improve it? And what's wild is the easiest thing to fix in the fastest manner, if applying the right solutions and tools, is your financial well-being. Like your credit score could be shit today, and in 120 days, 90 days, maybe even 60 days of a few things, it could be good. Like it's very, very curable.
You just have to know.
You just have to know, and you have to step into it.
Yes.
And you have to understand the numbers. You have to have visibility to it, and you just have to take action. Because it's like, I give this comparison I did on I think it was a Jennifer Hudson show, was the idea of like when we have a cavity, when we have an instant pain point, I talk about in the book too, we know we have to get it fixed. There's not a conversation, it's there. With finances, the system is set up so that the profitability is made from the large corporations when we don't pay attention. So we're kind of almost in a weird way incentivized to not pay attention.
Totally.
So it's like we need to find out what the pain point is for me, which is going to be different for you, and then step into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to just backtrack a tiny bit just because you said something. I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up, but I know we're going to get so many messages about how we got you on the show.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give everyone the origin story of how I know Jason quickly because so if you are a fan of Jason, you're listening to this for the first time. Hi, hello, we love you. Welcome. Hope you stay forever. Jason's business partner and best friend, Evan Sarr, is a dear friend of mine of 15 years. We had our first job together out of college at Madison Square Garden. Famously, it was a lot of fun. MSG, world's most
Go
famous.
Rangers.
Go Rangers. Oh yeah, it's exciting right now. Knicks, not the Knicks.
Knicks are out.
Sad. But Evan and Jason are business partners and like family for like the right at this point. You and Evan are like inseparable.
Yep.
So Evan was here working with Jason. I met them out for a drink. This is, I believe, 2021 already.
Yeah,
like it was a few years
ago
at the Westin, and they had just started their business, Rewired.
Rewired, yep, talent agency. And I just walked in, and Jason had just started his podcast. Like you were like a few episodes in, I feel like. Yeah, it was early.
And I was like, hi, nice to meet you. And like, Jason's already like in the limelight. Like your dating life is all over E! News. Like you're out there at this point. Like, and I was like, it's so nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Jason. It's so nice to meet you too. And I was like, I'm loving your new podcast. And immediately you said to me, you're not going to remember this, but you were like, oh, thank you so much. What do you love about it? And like you immediately started like connecting with me instead of, and I've met public figures before that don't, it's like, you're not above anyone.
Yeah.
You're such a mensch. Like you were so raised.
That's
you
nice.
are.
Yeah, my mother would love that.
Your mom would love that. But you could just tell you were raised right. And over the years, like you haven't, even when you've gotten more thrusted into the spotlight, you've never not been normal and really kind to people who aren't in the spotlight. So I just want everyone to know that. Like,
yeah, that's really sweet.
Well, it's true though, because I think like, you know, I come across, we live in Nashville. It's actually not that weird for normal people to interact with public figures
all the time.
Yeah, it's
right?
jarring.
All the time.
It's jarring.
Because
even our kids are in school with influencers, celebrities, kids.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, like Morgan Wallen sells out stadiums across the entire country, and he always is just like hanging out on Broadway, walking down the street.
Yeah,
you know, when
throwing
you compare,
chairs,
I mean, he's an idiot. Like he's a talented idiot.
Yes, for sure.
But like you think about someone like I don't know, think about an artist that sells out stadiums.
Yeah.
They're never walking down Broadway without security. So like there's something about Nashville where, you know, the biggest and the best are just like hanging out everywhere. It's wild.
And people treat them
alone.
normally.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no cameras, I feel like.
That too.
Are there?
Yeah.
You might know.
I think they
there
are, but I
paparazzi
think there's something about Nashville, like where the artists, like, you know, what Nashville's built on is country music.
Yes.
And these country musicians, like Post Malone, he'll pop into places downtown all the time on Broadway.
way.
Yeah,
heard
like
that.
the big musicians just have like a connection to it, and it happens every single weekend.
Yeah.
Declan, you would know this, right? Every weekend, someone's pop. Jelly rolls everywhere. Yeah.
Really?
And they're just
Did you
going
hear
in
that,
casual.
listeners?
Like they're not
Wow.
going in with this like massive like security group and stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's so cool.
That is a very cool part of Nashville. But original point, Evan Sarr, you are a gem. I love you more than anything in the world.
You're a beauty. You know what? Also, get like when we work in the talent management space, there's nothing that irks me more than like reality stars that come off shows and think they're like the next George Clooney or Taylor Swift.
that happen a lot?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, it happened. That doesn't happen to everybody, but the
Yeah.
people it does happen to, you're just like, the wake up call is going to be real and it's going to hurt, you know, because it's just, it's a short-sighted way to live and it's a little delusional.
People are a little up their own ass, I think, when they get off of these shows and are having their moment.
Totally.
But I think, and I will say, do you ever feel like, I was going to ask you this before, do you ever feel like because you were only on one season, you didn't do Paradise, you didn't do you kind of feel like you made it out easy on that? Because like you were so successful and you didn't have to like be an ass on TV for years.
I do think I got out pretty lucky when it comes to that, for sure.
Well, I think you took your opportunity and you ran with it in a direction most people in your shoes don't.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think like if you can get on, and I'll never forget what a producer told me, because I was thinking about going on Paradise. I was really thinking about it. And
so sweaty.
There was a producer, so sweaty.
They're all so sweaty all the time.
So much UV exposure.
It's like just, it's humidity galore.
Yeah.
Plus, in general, with those type of cameras and that type of pressure, especially when all your peers are there, I can imagine like the anxiety is aggressive.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about going on Paradise. My boss told me if I went on, I would have got fired. And I didn't end up going because one of the producers gave me this piece of advice that I thought made a lot of sense. And he said, this isn't in my best interest to share with you, but I want you to think about it. You just got off a show. You were great on the show, and you got an A+ edit. It's really, really tough in reality TV to copy and paste that and repeat it.
Yes.
That's such good advice.
It's doable. It's happened. I'm just telling you, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because you are so likable. That's like universally, like, do you have haters?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's
I mean, everyone's like, there's always going to be the miserable people.
Oh yeah.
But
There's haters.
Well,
sure.
Tulsa's going to be pretty mad after this.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tulsa's not.
Tulsa's gonna be like, what a dick.
The city of Tulsa is not here for Jason Tartick. But
4 Seasons. Come on. I was trying to just met someone that runs all marketing at 4 Seasons. I love you guys. Okay. It's just I want to go to
Jason
Hawaii.
has 2 friends named Joelle and Annie who will take any complimentary stays at the 4 Seasons if you're wondering.
Any city in the country, please. That's a perfect segue because we love to talk about how I feel like growing up in America, we're taught, it's like the just do it, the don't quit, the never give up.
Yeah.
But you share publicly a lot about, leaving your finance job in Seattle or kind of, being a little bit forced out, but also leaving on your own accord. And you just shared the story of not taking a road and how sometimes those big quits or those roads not taken are really like the defining moment of a life. So
Totally.
I guess this is a non-question. This is me regurgitating your own story to you.
Yeah. I love that. It was beautiful. I'm going to regurgitate what you regurgitated. And I think my regurgitation would be like, I'm big on takeaways. I think the takeaway is like either life does one of two things. It leads you down a path and you let life lead you, or you start to lead your life, right? And there are so many things out there that will force you to be led. The system, again, is set up for you to be led.
Yes.
Right? It's easy, it's comfortable, it's enticing. There's incentive structures to be led. And your life is so short, either you take control of it. And for 29 years, my life was 100% led for me, 100%. And weirdly enough, it was just going on the show. That was the first decision I made that like no one in my life agreed with. Not my friends, like literally family, no one supported.
Wow.
But I was like, I just want to do it. I'm sick of self-sacrificing for my company and moving all over the country and for my bosses and my clients and everyone else to like fit the part and check the boxes. I just want to do it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And so it was weird. It's
And
that decision that changed my life.
Yeah, you wouldn't have this life without just letting yourself be the captain in your own life.
Absolutely not. No shot.
Damn.
Absolutely no. And everybody who I look up to for advice and inspiration and guidance, everyone's like, what the fuck are you thinking?
And that's exactly why there's the imposter syndrome full circle. It's like no one, 99% of people, which is really sad, are going to just continue letting life lead them and not stop and say, wait, I have one life. I can actually do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like no one, even like within reason, but I can do it. Like, I mean, I have a full-time job. Everyone who listens to this knows that. I wanted to have a podcast, so I made her do it with me. Like that's what, that's like what you can just do it.
Yeah.
And even anything with you, like for a period of time before, in between jobs, I was working with Jason's team. Like I wanted to do that. Like and I'm still working with them. I still talk to Jason's gals every single day. They're my besties.
Chat.
Yes. I love them. Oh my God. Blake, by the way, I was very nervous. What's her title? Operations
manager. Yeah. Operations manager.
Blake is, shout out to Blake. I was texting her, like I was very nervous. I don't know why I was so nervous for you to be here, but I was like, I offered Jason a ride. She's like, you're doing too much and you need to relax.
He can drive.
Yeah. She's like, he can drive. It's okay.
But I love that too, because that's a really good point about overcoming imposter syndrome is like, you have to do things that make you nervous or uncomfortable.
Yes.
A, to be alive, and B, like to grow. And doing a reality TV show, I mean, is there anything that could make someone more nervous. Like you knew,
no, anxiety's at all time highs.
Right,
yeah,
at all time, but you knew that was going to be a growth.
100%.
Yeah,
and it was huge opportunity for growth, like
Yeah.
in so many ways. So yeah, it's crazy. The whole thing's nuts.
So nuts.
Yeah.
Do you have a defining moment, Jason, when you had to either confront or conquer imposter syndrome in your career, in your life, really in any way?
I think everyone has imposter syndrome. I don't think there's anyone, unless unless you're dealing with some type of like mental disorder, honestly.
Yeah.
Like a pure narcissism.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone at any capacity doesn't deal with it to some level.
Yeah.
Because again, the kind of that comment, like there's always bigger, there's always faster, there's always stronger, there's always wealthier, and it just exists. And it exists in a lot of forms. I mean, I think about, there's 2 weeks ago, I was at the F1 race. I thought we were going to a Carbone dinner. It was Carbone Beach. So it was this big tent, 500 people are in there. And every way my head turned, it was like the definition of bigger, better, stronger, faster. I mean, you're just in awe. Your jaws drop. There's Elon Musk, LeBron James.
Oh my God.
Kevin Love was there. Patrick Mahomes is there. Travis Kelce's there. George Kittle, Theo Von's over there. Michael Rubin, billionaire. Like everywhere you turn, and you're just like, what? Like I was with Grocery Store Joe, and we're just like, what the fuck are we doing in this room? And who did we pay off to get in here? Yeah. And we both said to each other, you know what? Just take a breath.
Yep.
Take it all in.
Act like you belong.
Enjoy it. And just do it with a smile on your face. Everyone here is still a person, and everyone here is dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
And even you can actually kind of see it. There's the different higher ranking of the athletes. You can see who feels like more important, who's dealing with imposter syndrome. You could see the people that are super confident, like LeBron walks in literally by himself, no one else. But other people that were at a lower level than him are walking in with a camera person, 2 security guards, all this stuff.
Wow.
Right? So I think at all levels, at the highest level of the people that we see on TV and sports every day, to just even I think about anybody in any profession that's listening to this, all of us deal with it in some capacity. I think it's just, what are your coping skills and how do you overcome it? And how do you channel with what you're dealing with actually for it to be productive in your discovery of people and social worlds and life?
That's so awesome to hear. And I've never even thought, it's like the chain or pipeline of imposter syndrome, it sounds like it just never ends.
It never ends.
No. Unless you're Jeff Bezos, who is a narcissist. So it's so there it is, at the top.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Unless you're like a pure narcissist. I don't think Donald Trump ever experienced this imposter syndrome.
No.
Because he's such a narcissist, his mental capabilities don't allow him to.
That's true.
Right? So
he's limited.
But I think, anyone that is exactly. And I think anyone that has any form of grounding, you're gonna feel that. And everyone feels it. And I think it's just the means in which you cope with it and actually use your internal guidance and thoughts as a means to make this situation actually better. Right? So, and I also think imposter syndrome has to do with, I don't know, I find it to be a little bit respect-based too, or either you're inspired or you're guided. It's not like a level of standing. Like when I'm impressed with what Elon Musk has built, I don't respect who he is as a leader or a person. So when I saw him, I saw zero star power. I saw zero form of awe or display. I was just like, interesting. That's Elon Musk. I didn't expect that. But there are other people there, like a Michael Rubin, who's the smallest guy in the entire, he's not even up to Kevin Durant's hips. And I look at that guy and I'm just like, oh my God, because I respect what he's built and I see it and I admire it and I want to be like it. You know what I mean?
What's the Patty Stanger quote from Forever Ago? It's like when he stands on his money, he's 6 feet tall.
He's probably 10 feet tall.
Yeah. I love that. Well, that was a great answer. And I guess you heard it here first. Everyone has imposter syndrome.
Yeah, even LeBron.
Yeah,
even LeBron. Well, I think the other thing too is LeBron definitely has imposter syndrome. I think LeBron. You could look at LeBron's tweets and his Instagram posts. I think he's one of the most insecure people out there.
Yeah,
and he's got a lot of haters.
Yeah.
And think about what he's achieved. Probably one of the greatest athletes to ever exist. One other thing I think you always have to remember is this is a good one, but like think like your great grandmother. Okay, think about who that person is, and then her mother. What's her name?
Oh God.
Okay, go to your great grandfather. Great grandfather. What's your great grandfather's name?
Jim.
Okay, what's Jim's name? Jim's father's name.
I think it was like Patty or something super Irish.
Okay, so and then anyone listening, do that exercise. We don't even know, just like a few generations deep in our own families.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So the wake up call of you are here for a limited time, and no one is going to remember you. Literally. No one.
Yeah.
In 100 years from now, no one is going to fucking know your name other than maybe a picture that's on the wall or someone maybe once in 100 years will bring up your name, right?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
So stop living in this fear of worrying about what everyone else thinks and does and says, because in 100 years, no one's going to fucking know.
No one cares.
And the other thing too is like when I think about the Bachelor decision, most decisions that you're making, if you're letting your compass guide you, it's the best direction, because so many people unintentionally or intentionally, if they're doing it intentionally, it's extremely toxic. If they're doing it unintentionally, it's likely happening every day. But people are unintentionally guiding our decisions because of they see something in themselves that they resent that they see in you, or you're doing something that they always wanted to do or that they're longing for. You have something they don't have. And naturally, even subconsciously, they're having an impact on what you do by projecting those things onto you.
I mean,
right?
we do that as parents.
Of course. Every parent does it. You try your best, but you do it. Yeah.
Elementary school has brought out this like little Annie who was rejected in gym class or something, where I'm like channeling that social energy into my daughter. Like, no, you have to be liked. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Yes, we do it. We do that in people. It's crazy.
Totally.
Yeah. Like my grandparents had to deal with World War II. The generation before them, World War I. Generation before them, et cetera, et cetera. And like there are traumas from each one of those generations that still we experience because of our parents, and we pass on to our kids. And I mean, understanding it and identifying it, like having your shields up to protect your compass is huge.
Wow.
Yes.
And you are a therapy advocate. Yes.
Huge.
I feel like a lot of that was,
when I was going through like my deep grieving period last year at this time, it was literally like a year ago today. I was going every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was doing 90-minute sessions.
Okay. Nice.
I was in it.
I like how you said every 2 weeks for like, that's cute.
You're like, what?
Every 2 weeks.
I'm like,
do you meet twice a week?
2 weeks. I now go once a month or once every 3 weeks. But yeah, huge. And every time I walk out, I'm like, I love that shit.
Isn't it?
I know.
It's amazing.
It's sometimes I'll be like, I don't know what I have to talk about today. And then like joke's on me, because I sit down and it's like
word vomit.
I usually like carve out 30 minutes of my schedule before I go in to like really think about like, what am I bringing in today?
Yeah.
Because like,
That's
but you're
so
right.
you.
You don't even, it's so me.
You're like, let me have an agenda.
I love that corporate America
literally
energy.
Enneagram 3.
Yeah.
My therapist will hear me talk and she'll be like, oh, okay. Are you happy we checked that box, Jason? Like she knows how I work. And she puts my feelings wheel there because Enneagram 3 have trouble with feelings. She's like, okay, let's identify what that is.
My husband's had the feeling.
Shout out to Jiffy. She's the best.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, we could talk all day. So let's pivot to the book.
Okay.
We love the book. We've already talked about the book, but let's take a minute again to give you your flowers on the book. We loved it so much. And I think what Annie and I wanted to read it regardless. We didn't know that we would get so much out of it, because I do think maybe like slightly it's positioned for people like either get advice getting into relationships and the questions to ask a partner as you're in a relationship before you get married. So, we're thinking we're very excited to read the book.
Yeah.
But we're both married with kids. Like we're already like down the road.
Yeah.
And I want to tell everyone we couldn't have been more wrong. Like we learned so much. So that's why we said it's for everyone. Like this book is for everyone.
Marketing it, we should have taken a different approach, that if you are single, if you're in a relationship, if you've been married for 30 years, like there will be takeaways for this book, for sure. It's
100%. More of a
finance 101 book. And if you happen to be in a relationship, it could help with that too.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it's funny because neither of us have prenups.
Yeah.
But
I don't think anybody's going to be surprised.
Wait, yeah, you do.
No.
Yeah, you do. You
no,
have
we
prenup.
do. So that's what I was going to say, because I love Jason's, I guess, outlook or definition, which is just true, of prenups are the smartest thing in the world. You do have a prenup. It's whatever your state says. So when you write a prenup, It's just your opportunity to edit it and
just
customize
modify it. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful reframe.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful reframe.
And I think for post-nups, what's really big for your listening audience is home caretakers or people that have put their career on hold for the benefit of their family, which is an exorbitant value. With a post-nup, you could protect yourself should things not work out. Well, there should be some form of compensation or some understanding that you've put your entire career trajectory on hold. Therefore, your income earning is decreased significantly when and if you are on your own if things don't work out. And I just think like there's so many things in this world that we know and we've learned through just, I don't know, medicine, science, research that like don't work out and aren't good, right? Smoking. Like my grandmother smoked that. My grandmother smoked when she was pregnant. She didn't know any better, right? Someone smokes today when they're pregnant. You're gonna be, what the fuck's wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
You learn, you get information, you grow. For some reason, though, when it comes to this whole love and money concept, we have information, we don't grow. We know things aren't working out, we don't grow. Divorce rate continues the way it is, we don't grow. Divorce rate in the 50s and at 65 is increased 2-3x. We're seeing the numbers, but we still don't do anything to address it.
Yeah.
Which to me is like, what are we doing?
Yes.
Let's step in, protect yourself.
I know. It's like
protect
people have this weird, like, it's not romantic. It's like, oh, will you marry me? Here's the ring. Here's the party. Here's the gifts. Here's the registry. Here's your dumb wedding. Like, they're all the same. And then like,
Stupid wedding.
just stupid fucking wedding that I don't want to go to. No, I'm kidding. But like,
I'll go to all of them. Invite me.
Yes.
I'll be in them.
Annie will go.
I love weddings.
I do too, but like, you know what I mean? It's just like rinse and repeat after a while. But it's like you get caught up in all of this. And it's like, slow down. I know that you think this is the love of your life. It might be. But I almost think it's arrogant to think you'll never get divorced. 50% of people, like, I hope I never get divorced. I pray I don't. I don't think I will. But if it's 50%, if someone told you you had a 50% of living, I wouldn't be that excited about that.
Exactly.
Be prepared for all outcomes.
Well, what's
Literally.
interesting too is like even like another different spin on it is if you're looking to romanticize your relationship and you're looking to continue a romantic lifestyle with your partner, that's amazing. You should do that. But what we know through all the studies is that if there's gray area with money, there are unknowns. And when there are unknowns, resentment is built based on assumption. And when resentment is built, we know that it breaks relationships up, right? So it says in this book, 3/4 of people that are married or cohabitating say that money creates material tension in the relationship. Over half of those say it decreases their intimacy. So if you are romanticizing it and you're saying it's not romantic to talk about it or step into what could be, weirdly enough, ironically, all the people that are stepping into these conversations and that are addressing them are having a higher likelihood of success with their romantic relationship.
Because the communication's open.
Because of communication.
Yes,
there's
that's
less gray area. There's less resentment. There's more
Transparency.
intimacy. It's not like, well, I thought you were going to do this. Why didn't you do this? It's, hey, what is right? What isn't right? I'm not judging your purchase because I've learned that your purchase is a priority to it. It makes you happy. But then we've also talked about those second, third, fourth priorities. We'll kind of watch those ones. Like, you know, I think that's actually, if you're romanticizing your relationship, weirdly enough, stepping into this will increase the likelihood of that vision you have.
That's such a good point.
I can say like firsthand, because I stepped out of my tech career to be more focused on the family and pursue some of these other interests. And after reading this, I did feel really empowered to have more of the conversations about the value that was bringing and the cost of outsourcing to nannies to drive to activities or whatever it would have been. And that was so empowering to hear like, oh yeah, we do need to have these conversations. And that transparency and that dialogue, I feel like put my husband and I more on an equal playing field. Like we just understood each other's motivations more.
Yeah.
And that was so helpful.
It's
so
huge.
thank you.
And it's all stages too, right? Like
Yeah,
that's your husband.
exactly.
Like even like people planning for a wedding. We just talked about this on the last podcast. Average wedding costs now are $33,000.
Yeah, that's
like you have to step into these conversations like at every cost of going out to dinner. You go out to dinner now, it's like $200-$300 if you want to drink and a decent meal. It's ridiculous. Like even just going out for dates. Unfortunately, these are conversations that are tough to have, but if they're being had, it's putting you in a better position to understand the person, whether you're dating or you have kids and you're just trying to get on the same alignment.
Totally.
And that's an interesting thing too. I feel like there needs to be more education around making the financial decision to have kids. We don't want to assign a financial value to it because, once you have one kid, the oxytocin has poisoned your brain and you're like, more kids or whatever's happening there. But like it's a huge financial burden, and you have to be ready and set up to take that on. But that is one area that like people do not want to talk about.
Yeah.
The financial aspect of having children.
Yeah. To your perspective, like, it's a huge expense. It's a huge burden. It's a lot. It's a lot of stress. But the other thing too is if it does happen, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you're good. You're having a kid. You now, from the minute X amount of months till that child is born, you have so many things you could proactively do, like set up 529 plans so that when it comes, time for like, the baby shower, maybe you're actually just giving people the 529 account, just throw $20 in there. It helps more. Or, you're doing proactive things that help with the finances and the child's future. So these things will happen.
Is this your next book? This could be your next book.
There's going to be people that have kids when they're not financially ready.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, but like, when it does, put the solutions in place and talk about it, right? Like say, hey, I'm not prepared. I didn't think about these things, but now I know it. Now I'm talking about it. Let's solve it because it's solvable. It's
solvable.
It's curable.
Yes. Next book, Jason Tartick, How to Prepare for Having Children.
But the next book I was actually, if I do another book, the next book I was actually thinking about was a children's finance book. Because so much of this is like, like there are all the shows, there's like Bluey and all this stuff. I'm like, there needs to be something on like simple things like trade, negotiation, like your toys, your negotiation, like how to do it properly,
brilliant.
How to understand money. Kids go into stores these days, Mom, I want this, I want that. Like that's great, but like understanding the value, like that would be.
This just happened with Riley. We were with our 4-year-olds buying birthday gifts for a birthday party, and Riley wanted everything in the store. It's the one right in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do you know that store, that toy store?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's unreal.
It's been around for like 70 plus years or something.
Yeah. So we went in there. It's like kid heaven. It's like kind of fun for adults too. And Riley's picking, I want this, I want this. And I was like, she's old enough now that they're 4. I'm like, you can have that. You can make your own money. You can clean your room.
Yes.
And I want you to, I'll take pictures of all the toys you want. And if you start cleaning your room, I'll come back and buy you the toys. And she has been cleaning her room.
Yeah.
My other one, I feel like that goes in one ear out the other.
Yeah.
Riley's room, she actually might have like a career in cleaning. Cleaning and organizing and decorating. I've been so impressed.
But like, think about that budgeting exercise too. Okay, like, so you've earned $20. You can now go to this store and anything you want for $20. So it's not like they're pointing to the doll or whatever it is that they want, and it's mom saying no and them crying, and then mom saying you're selfish. No, you're explaining to them, hey, that's $23, but you only saved $20. So we can come back once you earn the $3, or we can shop in the $20. Like, think about those lessons there, right?
I love that.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what's
I think that's a genius idea.
Uncle Jay.
Uncle Jay. Do
you want kids?
I do.
Yeah.
Very
That's
badly.
awesome.
Well, and I just wish that like in college, instead of taking, Volcanoes 101, there was like a class like this.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That like
right?
would have taught me more at a younger age.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
It's
just
wild.
all the things that we need to know like in life are just not taught.
We said it in... It was the first line of the poem.
It was in this poem.
A book that should be taught in school.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
So one of our favorite parts of the book that you've also said on the couch was don't weaponize vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
So important, especially because of the shame associated with finances. I have this really good friend who chose a career path that's not particularly lucrative. She had a second job to bring more money in. She had a lot of debt, paid for her own schooling. She's dating this guy who's very financially savvy, very financially aware. I'm not going to give him the savvy card yet, okay? And they have this really honest conversation. Mm-hmm. A couple weeks later, he dumps her and he says, I just don't think it's going to work. Your debt to income ratio is like huge. I don't know how we'd overcome that. I'm just going to I'm going to call it quits. We're not going to date anymore.
Wow.
So he kind of dumped her for the financial conversation she had. So I thought that was such an interesting real life example where I was like, okay, so do you think that's okay? All's fair in love and war. He's being responsible. Or are you like, okay, dude, you weaponized it a bit?
I mean, he totally weaponized it.
Okay.
You're taking information and then using it against that person when you could improve that ratio relatively quickly with some adjustments.
Yeah.
However, what I always say is like getting to the honesty of anything is going to create clarity, period. The gray area sucks, okay? She was open and what I would tell her is like, you were open and you were honest. And look at how much information you just gained about this guy.
Yeah.
because you have a high debt to income ratio, he's going to look past your internal beauty, your external beauty, all the things that you bring, your family, who you are as a person. You look at the clarity you just got because you were open about your finances. Is that your life partner? Like, is that the guy that when things are going astray, unconditionally, he is going to love you for who you are and what you bring and how you do it? No.
No, it's like you dodged a bullet.
You dodged the biggest bullet. And if you don't have those conversations, when do you find it?
Right.
Is it too late?
Yeah.
And think about how much time and effort you could take. And that's one that I talk about in the book, my struggles. Like, if I would have stepped into harder conversations, there would have been so much more clarity. And with that clarity, things would have happened faster as opposed to, thinking about where you are today and your age and everything else. And, so
and
kudos to her.
You're 35 with this awareness, and you're also a finance person. So you have this background. We've both been married 10 years. And so we started this whole thing early.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to know that we didn't know this stuff early.
Yeah. No, of course. Most people don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they don't. And I think right now, it's just so important because when you look at inflation and the cost of everything, like when interest rates were at 0%, there was no we lived in a world for 20 years where there's no inflation.
Yeah.
Rates were the same and the prices of nothing went up. So the cost of not talking about it or stepping into it was minimal. Now, because there's this huge discrepancy in rates and what you can earn on your money, and now credit card interest rates are up at 30%. If you don't step into this now, you are in deep shit.
The car story in your book?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Okay, I'm not going to give it away. You have to read the book, but there's so many good
Car
stories
story.
that
So
teach
many.
you but the car story
is nuts.
Nuts.
Yeah. And the long and short of that story is you can read the specifics, but you have one person who walks in and gets a G-Wagon, another person who gets a Toyota Camry. One price tag's $150,000, one price tag is $22,000. The person with the $22,000 car is paying it's about the same or more than the G-Wagon. Wake up, everybody.
Wake up, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh
There's
my
a lot
gosh.
to it.
So we want to keep you forever. We know you can't because you're the busiest man in America. So let's get to our giveaway. We just want to keep you forever. This has been so much fun.
God.
So we're going to do a giveaway. We have 5 books here. Jason's going to sign them.
Yeah.
So to enter, what we need you to do is leave us a 5-star review. We want you to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Yes.
Right? And then you'll subscribe on those channels. You'll share the episode to your Instagram story. And the first 5 people to do it will receive a signed copy by Jason himself. Now,
Lil J.
This has been so fun.
It's had so much fun. You guys killed it too, by the way.
Thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you for having me.
I know you famously on your podcast always ask your guests for a trading secret at the end, which I love. I always love listening to those tidbits. We do something similar. We just ask for our listeners at home who are struggling with imposter syndrome right now, give them advice to help them.
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice is, one, you're not alone. Everyone feels it at all levels. And the other thing I would tell you is that every single room that you go in or person that you meet with, there is something that you can bring them, offer them, or there's something that is your superpower that isn't theirs. And so the only way you'll be able to step into that is understanding yourself at a deep, deep level, to the core of everything you are and your strengths. And a good practice is the question you ask. Anyone that's listening to this, ask yourself right now, what are you great at? And if you can't think of a laundry list of things, it's time to do more self-awareness and self-digging, because in every situation, there's something you can bring to the table. And I think the best way to overcome imposter syndrome are bringing those things that the person across from the table doesn't have and could see value in.
That was beautiful.
Awesome. Damn, let's go.
Amazing. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn, pretty much every social media channel, it's just Jason_Tartick. Podcast is Trading Secrets, books, Talk Money to Me, agencies, Rewired Talent Management, and
Get you a guy who can do it all. This has been so fun. Well, thank you for coming again, Jason. This means everything to us, truly.
Thank you.
This has been Joelle.
This has been Annie.
This has been Jason.
Hell yeah.
Let's
and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.